Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Toni Ardabell on the line, and she is Chief Clinical Enterprise Operations over at Innova Health System. Toni, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. So for everybody listening, this is part of our State of the Women Conference series where we're bringing you the best of VIPs, panelists, speakers, and so on from the State of the Women 2025 conference happening September 17th through 19th. And to learn more and to grab tickets, you can go to stateofthewoman.com, again, stateofthewoman.com, and connect with Gail and her team over there who put on quite an amazing conference. So, Toni, I guess just to get us kicked off here, talk to me about your connection to the conference, Gail, State of the Woman. How'd you get involved?
I worked with Gail in Richmond. She was in the banking industry. I'm in healthcare. And as Gail retired, she created a women's group, and I became part of that women's group. And that has grown. Her business has grown over the years. And she started doing this conference about 3 years ago. And that's how I got involved, is through Gail.
Wow. So have you been a part of it from the beginning, would you say?
I have, yep.
Oh, wow.
I joined her first advisory.
Talk to me about the progression, and what you've seen, and what do you think makes this conference and this group of individuals that come together, what makes it so special? Lots of ways you could spend your time, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I would say what makes it special for me, part of it is Gail Letz's leadership. Gail's an amazing woman, and when she started talking about retiring and doing this women's group, Issues for Women, which men are also invited if they would like to be involved in supporting women, and it went from that group to her continuing to add different components of her business, and then it began to do this women's conference. She's done, this will be her third one, I believe. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually even make it to the last two. So I'm so excited to be able to not only make it to this one, but to participate in this one. And the focus of these conferences have been about women in work, women in health. So it's really been very focused on helping women grow and develop professionally.
And you're hosting a panel, correct me if I'm off there, and you're going to be moderating and also participating as a speaker. So tell us a little bit more about the content.
The panel it really started with the concept of how does health for women impact their professional life? For instance, having babies, menopause, taking care of other family members. It's very different for women. But then we started spreading it out just a little bit and started thinking about, okay, what about access for women? What about research? And is enough research done that includes women in the study group so that we actually know is the impact different for women than men? What's the role of women in the community around education and prevention? So as we started really talking about what this panel could deliver, it got a little deeper, but it's still also very much the 10 or 15 minutes that I'll speak. I'm really going to speak on that topic, which is women are impacted in their professional careers based on their health and the health of their families often as well.
What do you see in that space? Maybe go a little bit deeper on that. And obviously, we're not going to have you give everything that you're going to talk about, but give us a little bit more on what you're seeing in that, obviously, from your perspective, being in the health industry.
So let's talk about female physicians. When physicians are often measured by quality and productivity, and usually with productivity, it's something called RVUs, relative value units. So you're budgeted to have a certain number of those a year, and then if you exceed those, you are qualified for a bonus if your quality has been maintained. So with women who are pregnant and they go out for 12 weeks, that's 12 weeks loss of their productivity averaged into their annual amount, which I find very unfair, to tell you the truth. And so that's one way that their impact at work may happen. The other thing that happens is women might take a year off or maybe 2 years off when they have a baby. And then that really impacts where they are in the pecking order for their next promotions. So those are the types of things that I worry about. Menopause, there's a lot of talk about a foggy brain during menopause, or, the hot flashes, or the different ways that menopause affect women at work. Very little, let's say, sympathy for that in the workplace. Women who are breastfeeding. At least most organizations now do have breastfeeding rooms, at least healthcare organizations do. But I have a daughter-in-law who told me she would lock the door of her office and lay on the floor to pump her breast because she was so tired, but could not really have that conversation at work about how tired she was. So those are the types of things that I think impact women at work related to health.
What do you think are the benefits of communing, coming together, and having these conversations? Because I think it's special.
Well, part of it is to raise awareness that I'm not alone in my workplace. The second is, who can I talk to make a difference? Is there some way that I can make a difference? I believe in the I a lot. For instance, where I work at Inova, I'm very clear. You never, ever put work over your family, and you will never get in trouble for that. When I was growing up in leadership,
that's pretty amazing, by the way, right? Like that we've gotten that far. I mean, I know there's a long way to go, but that's different. Go ahead, please.
That is. When I was growing up in leadership, if I got a call from the school that my child was sick, my first response was anger. And then I would say, okay, I have to tell people I'm leaving, but I'm not going to tell them I'm going to go pick up my child. And then on the way to school, my anger would turn into being upset that I was angry. Like, my child is sick. It's not their fault they're sick. And then I would start crying on the way to pick them up at school. And I'm like, I'm never having, male or female, I'm never having somebody feel that way that works for me. And luckily, I work in an organization whose culture supports that type of thinking. But I would not work in an organization where my personal beliefs are not aligned with that organization. So those are the types of things that we often don't think about.
Speaking of the organization, maybe tell us a little bit about Inova Health Systems.
Inova is a non-for-profit, local Northern Virginia healthcare system. We're about a $6 billion annually organization. We have 25,000 employees. I'm proud to say that we have many different awards from national organizations that I won't go into a lot of them, but one of the ones we're really proud of is the Press Ganey Award for Employer of the Year because of our engagement scores, our turnover rates, and things like that. So it is a great organization to work for since Dr. Stephen Jones joined us about 7 years ago now. He is our CEO of the health system, and he creates a culture of human first, meaning both patient and our team members. Our team members are as important to us as our patients. So it's a wonderful culture to work in, and I've been here this time around for 6 years. I worked at Inova for 20-some years and left because I wasn't happy with the culture. So I'm so happy to come back under Stephen's leadership and help create this new culture.
That's absolutely amazing. That's a great. How did you get into the healthcare in general? Like, where'd that begin for you?
My mother was an LPN. And I was growing up, remember, graduating from college or high school in the 70s. So it was a small high school in nowhere, Pennsylvania. And I really didn't think about much other than being a nurse. My mom was, like I said, an LPN. I loved the people she worked with. I loved the stories she told. She knew at the time that if I wanted to be a nurse, I really needed to do it with a 4-year degree and not a diploma, which was unique at that time for people to think that way.
For sure.
And so I went to Penn State, and I'm still very active in the Penn State alumni, actually. And in case you don't know, there's not a better school in the United States. And then I literally graduated from Penn State as a nurse, an RN, and then went back to school within 5 years to get a graduate degree. Again, based on my mother's and my father's advice and pushing me. And that's how I got into healthcare. I never imagined that I would be at basically the chief of clinical operations for a health system. That was not in my wildest dreams at the time.
Wow.
I've had great mentors and great opportunities, and so here I am.
What an amazing story. What would you tell the next generation that are thinking about getting into the healthcare field at all? Because you've obviously made a great life out of it, and as you said, it's been beyond your wildest dreams where you're at. Like, what would you tell the next generation that are thinking about entering the field?
I think healthcare is a marvelous field. It gives you so many opportunities. In healthcare, if you're a practitioner, a nurse, physician, nurse practitioner, you can work in a hospital, you can work in ambulatory settings, you can work in school, you can work days, evenings, or night shift. You can work in the emergency department, or you could work in the pediatric ICU or in the adult CCU. There are so many opportunities. And the other thing I tell young people is say yes. When somebody asks you to do something, just say yes. Don't ask, are you going to pay me more money for that? Maybe you deserve more money for it. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But the issue is people begin seeing you as willing, and people begin seeing you as wanting to grow, and you are actually approached for your next jobs in a different way than having to apply for your next job. You might have to go through an interview process to make it fair in case there is someone more qualified than you are, but you're a known entity to a lot of people by that point. So there's lots of opportunities in healthcare, and there's lots of opportunities in the world in general for people who see the positive of doing a little bit more.
That's great advice. Toni, this has been a pleasure having you on the show today and getting to know more about what you're doing over at Inova Health System, but also just the great work you're doing and what you're going to be doing at the conference. That being said, for everybody listening, stateofthewoman.com. Again, pick up tickets, check it out, stateofthewoman.com. And if somebody wants to connect with you or follow your journey, Toni, how do they do that?
The best way would be LinkedIn.
Fantastic. So for everybody listening, we'll put a link to Toni's LinkedIn profile there so you can connect with her there. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Toni, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.